Hi, so today I'm going to talk a bit about what I think about the move away from cotton dresses to polyester dresses within village fashion. Got my notes here. Probably gonna keep looking down, looking a bit awkward, but here we go. First of all, I don't want to pass any judgment here. I have polyester dresses. It's not like this horrible thing. I'm not here to shame anyone for their choice in fabric. It's just a personal choice, really. I noticed the move from cotton to polyester with a lot of the major brands a few years ago. But for me, the main time I really noticed it is when I wanted to get... So I noticed a move away from cotton dresses to polyester dresses a few years ago. I noticed it mainly when I wanted to get the honey cake re-release, which unfortunately I couldn't get. I didn't manage to get it, but I noticed it was in polyester this time and the old one was in cotton. So to me that was just interesting. I was then noticing this move away to more polyester based dresses. So there's a few reasons why I think they're doing that. One big advantage is that polyester doesn't really fade. So if you look at old cotton dresses, depends how it's been stored, it might even be that old. They're often quite faded and quite worn looking, whereas polyester dresses pretty much look the same, even if they've been around for a few years. And for a fashion where you can wear the same dress for years and years on end, and you'll probably eventually resell it anyway, very useful. The main thing though, I think, is that polyester is a cheaper fabric. The dress is going to be cheaper to make than using cotton. And when capitalism is aim of the game, you want to get your product as cheap as possible. And I think with the booming secondhand market, all these Taobao and independent brands popping up and the fashion being so international, less people are probably going towards your Angelic Pretties and your Baby the Starshine Brights and all these big brands. Obviously people are still going, they're still making stuff people want, but there's just so much more options out there now. They have so much more competition, and that might be affecting how much they make. This disadvantage to having polyester, it's not breathable, so you're gonna probably sweat in it a lot, especially if you're in a really warm place, and that could be really uncomfortable. But this quality of the fabric might also be its advantage. So it doesn't really absorb any moisture, which means if you wash it and you take out the washing machine, it's practically dry, and it doesn't take a long time to dry at all. So if you live somewhere without a garden or without somewhere where you could hang it outside, very useful. The main advantage, at least from an environmental impact, is probably the microplastics. So you wash anything polyester, bits of it are going to break off and go into the water, which will affect all the water around the world. It will contribute to the pollution that is already in the sea and all that kind of thing, which isn't something I think we really want to do. Now, you might think I'm team cotton and I think it's this amazing, super material, just like, oh, so much better than polyester. But cotton has its disadvantages too. The first of all, as I mentioned, the print fades a lot quicker than a polyester dress ever will, and that just means there's less longevity to it, and it's just a big disadvantage. Yes, cotton's a breathable fabric, and that's a big advantage to it, and personally I prefer something that's breathable, but there's also things about it which aren't that great. So I'm going to assume the companies don't use organic cotton in their production, because I feel if they did they would rave on about it, and that means there's a risk of pesticides and fertilizers running off into the water, into seas and streams and all that kind of thing. The reason this is a problem is because it could cause things like algal bloom, which is there's naturally occurring algae and things like that in the water. When fertilizer hits it, what does fertilizer do? It helps things grow, so the algae is going to grow and grow and keep going, and it could get to a point where the whole water is completely covered in algae and no light can get through because the algae is blocking it. So organisms below, like fish or other plants, might not get any light, and that could really affect the ecosystem. Even if the cotton is organic, cotton is a very thirsty crop. It is known for using a lot of water, and there are alternative fabrics we have that don't use as much, but just due to how things are, cotton's a very commonly used fabric. So there's advantages and disadvantages to both, but depending on whichever one you choose, there are still ways we can be a bit more sustainable. The obvious thing is to buy secondhand clothing. We have a very big secondhand market here that isn't really a problem. You probably know that one already. The next one is to wash the clothes less. So I like to put a cotton t-shirt or something underneath an OP, or even underneath a blouse if I'm out with a JSK. That will absorb all of the sweat, all of the dirt. That can regularly be washed, it can regularly be replaced. It's very easy to find a cotton shirt in a shop somewhere, and that means you don't have to wash your dress. So it will last longer because it's less wear and tear from washing, and less stains and everything from dirt. So it will even be in a better condition if you want to sell it on, or even if you wanted to keep it for life. You could have it a lot longer because the condition's a lot better. If you do have a polyester dress and you want to put it in the washing machine, you can get certain wash bags. I'm not sure what the proper name is, but it will collect all of the microplastics so it won't run off into the water. But I think the intention is to then put it in the bin, which means it will end up in landfill, so I'm not sure about how sustainable that ends up in the end, but hopefully there'll be even better options in the future. The main thing is, whatever fabric dress you have, just love it and do your best to make it last, and do your best to not make it end up in landfill with. Oh, Wendy's come to say hello. Hello.